Hey, in this video, I'll be no damaging all the main boss fights in Elden Ring as a level 1 ret. This means no leveling up, no clothes, no maidens, no nothing. Just me and my club for the entire video. And also, I'll be doing the DLC without Scadutree blessings. So, first off, we have the Tree Sentinel, and he isn't really like a main boss. In fact, he's one of the first optional ones you see. But he's the honorary tutorial boss in my eyes, since, you know, everyone's gonna encounter him, and he teaches like the hard lesson that not everything should be fought at the beginning. And I didn't learn that lesson, obviously. I just kept fighting him for hours and hours until I won, which is the whole point of this run. But this boss fight sends it in the most. And now you see here, I was focusing on poise breaks. So he has 80 poise, and my charge attack deals about 39. So 2 charge attacks and 1 light attack should poise break him. It means like, that's the poise break. And you see when I poise break him there. And instead of doing a heavy attack to punish it, I do a light attack. So then I can follow up with a charge heavy, and then get 39 poise right at the beginning of the fight. Well, if I probably do more damage if I like charge attack punish the poise break, and then jump attack punish the like when he's recovering from the riposte. But I prefer poise damage because I want to keep stunning him. Because this dude is very obnoxious in his second phase. It's exactly the same as the first phase, but instead he has like all those like fucking shield attacks. Like, they seem pretty simple to dodge, but like, they're so fucking hard to dodge. Like, you have no idea. Like, the timing and like the hitboxes are so insane. Like, I would be like a whole fucking kilometer away and it would still hit me. Like, I would try to outspace it so many times and it would just fail, so I gotta learn to dodge timing, but it's just so weird, I don't know why. Okay, next up we have Margit, the actual first main boss. Now this is a very interesting fight because even though it's the first true boss, it's surprisingly complex. So I don't show much of this complexity in the video itself. I just like poise breaking him the whole time because he only has 80 poise. Just like Tree Sentinel, but he can be poise broken a lot easier than Tree Sentinel. Since, you know, Tree Sentinel he's like fucking like walking around all the time, galloping away, kiting you. But Margit, he likes to be in your face a lot. And sure, he sometimes does like to like fuck off and like throw daggers. But most of the time, he will be in your face, which is really good. See here, I throw throwing daggers at him to keep up poise damage. Because if I don't attack him for 3-6 seconds, his poise will recover. And the whole point of this is, well, poise breaks. And so even though like the club may look like a weak weapon, but trust me, it's a poise fucking breaking machine. Like, just 2 charge heavies are enough to poise break Margit. It's kinda insane. Look, I haven't even explained his moveset, he's already dead. Like, this is such a complex boss, and I annihilated him, and I kinda feel bad for that, but that's a whole other discussion of itself. Up next we have Godrick, the first Remembrance boss. So Remembrances are like, well, you would think that main bosses would mean like all like the big spectacle Remembrance bosses, but I also include fellas like Margit and shit. Because, well, they don't get you Remembrances, but they're required to reach the Remembrances bosses. And so I count them as main bosses since, you know, you're required to fight them, and they feel very hard in general. So the distinction between main and like side boss is very weird in this game, like I said. And Tree Sentinel definitely is not a main boss, but I include him because he's the honorary main boss in my eyes. Okay, no, I'm waffling on. Okay, back to Godrick. So he's a lot simpler than Margit, but he gave me like surprisingly a harder time in this run because I didn't know his moveset as well. Like, when I fought Margit the first time on my normal playthrough, I learned so much about him because he like kicked my ass. But Godrick I just steamrolled because I'll confess, I summoned the first time because I was shit at this game. So I had to actually learn his moveset this time around. So it took quite a while, but it was pretty fun. And then he was much of a pushover. It's a pretty easy fight. Even by this game standards, he'd be a pretty easy fight. But like in any other game, he'd probably be like a top 3 hardest fight. Like, a lot of see that whirlwind attack is like his most common move, and a lot of people say it comes out really fast. It comes out in like 40 frames, I think, which isn't actually a lot, but it can be a bit hard to intuit what he's doing. because like the axe move is like pretty similar to his other attacks. But how I would react to it is that I would see his axe. I would see him, when he swings it over his head, he's able to charge up the whirlwind. So I just like dodge away twice and I'll outspace it. But other than that, he doesn't really have any like problem attacks. Everything is telegraphed pretty reasonably, and everything is punished pretty consistently to a solid degree. Like the only like annoying thing in this fight is, I guess, the fire physics. Like sometimes like he has this, it's not shown in this video, but he has this one flamethrower attack where you can strafe behind him and get like a bunch of free hits, but sometimes the fire like leaks behind him. He's like pissing it off behind his ass, which isn't meant to happen, but the fire physics in this game are weird and they bounce off like random places. It's not a super common occurrence, but it's very noticeable in fights like Fire Giant and Vale, which I will get to later. And that's Godrick down. Next up we have Wolf of Radagon. Oh my god, this fight, I did not expect this to be as hard as it was at level 1. So this is like the only charge R2 window I really have in this fight. And the strategy for most fights in this game at level 1 with a club is charge R2s and poise base. Yeah, the club is a charge R2 machine. And yeah, this Red Wolf only has like one consistent charge R2 window. If you try to charge R2 anything else, he will greed punish you with one of his quick attacks. I find it pretty difficult to like intuit what he's doing, because like, not just look at the fur, because like it's like, I just really don't like these animal bosses because like their movements are like a very subtle. They move their like it's not a head attack. If you're next to him, it's pretty hard to tell what he's doing because like he just lunges his head and it looks like an idle animation, but it's actually an attack. So earlier you saw me like jumping over the flaming sword, which I don't think that's the intended way of dodging it, but it's pretty cool. Like there are a lot of like really cool jump dodges in this game that I don't think are intended, but if you do them, they're pretty cool. And also that also gave me a tactical advantage because I can get a jumping R2 off of him during that. I'm gonna show it again later. So obviously the charge R2 does the most poise damage, but a jump R2 is a close second. Like here. I dodged this first one, jump over the second one, and then fall for that last one, and then charge R2. That was, like I said, if he wasn't about to die, I shouldn't have charged R2 that, because he definitely would have greed punished me. So, but I just went with it anyway because that fight is irritating as shit. Up next we have Rennala, and this is one of the most annoying fights to no-hit in the entire game. So for phase 1 is extremely simple. It just find the 3 yellow dudes and then hit them once. You don't even need to kill them. You just need to hit them once. Like, it can be like any damage, so I could have thrown like a throwing dagger at them, but that would have been a bit of a waste. And if I get so many, I got clipped by an off-screen book being thrown at me so many times. Like, you have no idea. Like, and on top of that, if I just die stupidly here, which is actually a lot easier to do, because it's a no-hit run, I would have to go through that long-ass run back every single time. Like, the run back isn't like super long, but considering you have to go through the monotonous first phase every single time you die, it really hits hard. Like, if it was just like one of them, I'd be fine. But the combination of both of them is what really pisses me off. It's just like phase 1 is so easy, but it's so fucking easy to mess it up. Like, if you're doing a no-hit, because of like, not just like the books, like sometimes like a chandelier hitbox is like a bit weird, like sometimes or if you like shoot like the fucking students at you out of nowhere like missiles. Okay, so here's phase 2. It's the more interesting part of this fight, but it's not interesting enough to warrant going through phase 1 in the run back every time. So yeah, she's a mage boss, and just like any mage bosses, she's fucking pathetic at melee. So your goal is to chase her down, because like it's getting pretty tough to dodge some of her ranged magic spells at range, because like sometimes they can, I won't say they frame trap you, but sometimes uses them in tangent, so it's gonna be really hard to like time your dodging and positioning like precisely enough to get rid of, to dodge every single one of them. So now I get really lucky here, and she uses her like very simple to punish melee attacks. So even when you're close to her, she can like hop away and use her magic attacks. So it's not always guaranteed that she'll use her melee at range. I mean, at close range. And yeah, that was Rennala. pretty simple boss, but extremely annoying to no-hit. I do not recommend no-hitting this boss. It's a lot more enjoyable normally. Next up, we have the Ghost Loretta. And I actually had a harder time with this one than the actual Loretta later on. And yeah, sure, it's because I learned the moves. Like, the real Loretta really does not change a lot moveset-wise from the Ghost Loretta. Like, there's also the Ghost Godfrey, but that's very similar to Godfrey Phase 1. But not only does he have like the fissure attacks that the Ghost lacks, but he also has like a whole new second phase in like the Regal War half-phase transition. But this fight is like near identical to the actual Loretta, aside from like that one move, which is like spinning around and like. That doesn't sound very descriptive when I'm saying it, but you'll know what I mean when I get there. So for Loretta, once again, he has like exactly the same like poise and riposte properties as the Tree Sentinel. So I use the same strat of like poise breaking her, and then like light R1ing as a riposte, and then charge R2ing right then to get like more poise. So I only charge R2 punish the poise break here because she was about to die. So basically, yeah, basically the same as Tree Sentinel, but with some mage attacks. But if you close a distance, it's pretty simple. And this fight can kind of get me a bit irritating when you're far away. She spell slams, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, next up is Radahn. So what I do here is that I go all the way back to despawn the arrow phase, and then it switches AI and makes it go completely into the melee phase. Like, the arrow phase is a cool cinematic opener for the fight, but it gets pretty fucking tedious having to go through it every time to practice the melee phase. So here is the melee phase. So this attack is like 3 damage. You stick under his ass, and then you can like get like multiple charge R2s, and boom, he's already got 100 poise damage. Okay, so I punish that attack, and at 75% health, he's guaranteed to use Crag Blade. And I'm about to poise break him after this. So he has the most, I'm pretty sure he has the most poise out of any boss in the game. He has 200, which means it'll take about like 5 or 6 charge R2s to get him. Which sounds like hell, but he's, not only is his poise regen timer really forgiving, like 15 seconds, but you have a lot of big punish opportunities. Like, let's see, you saw me there like CR2ing his ass for free. He was like doing out his 6-hit combo and not a single one was hitting me. So here, yeah, it's very easy to script this fight with high damage because there's multiple moves he's guaranteed to use, like the Crag Blade and the Meteor Summon. So I can get like free CR2s. So I dodge that. I dodge in. So these meteors, like, you think they discourage. I used to like be very scared of them on my normal playthrough. I was just like, run the fuck away. I'd be afraid he could just throw that at me at any moment. But I realized it's better to like stay aggressive and poise break him before he can use them. And if he does, and it's very rare that he uses them anyway. Really, like, you think it would massively discourage aggression, and in some ways it does. But if anything, I'd say it encourages aggression. So we can like keep going at him and make sure he doesn't use the meteors from long range. Okay, next up we have the Godskin Noble. Now this fight, phase 1 isn't that bad. There's a few weird delays, but you know, this Elden Beast, everyone has weird delays. So I do like that move you can jump over. That specifically the aftershock. So there's a lot of cool jump dodges you can do in this game that don't look like intuitive, but once you do them, it's really rewarding. Like, there's a lot more to this game than just rolling and hitting. There's also rolling, jumping, and hitting. I know, creative. So I punish the phase transition here, and oh my god, the difficulty spike from phase 1 to 2 should be studied in the books. See, that move is so quick. Like, you have no idea how many times I have nearly killed him just to get clipped by that move. Like, for a while I was just like dodging. Like, there was a time where I was like dodge away after every single move, thinking that he would use the belly blast. But you can't react to it. You gotta see his arm movements and like dodge away, like just in time. So it is possible. I did get used to it, but I'm a bit inconsistent. So use it here again. See, I roll away instinctively. And yeah, earlier he used the rolling attack. I didn't really talk about that because I was too busy talking about the belly blast. But if you, that one isn't as bad as the belly blast. If you just stand behind the pillar, he'll get stuck there. You can punish it after, but it's a bit of a risk. You saw me like rolling there to try to punish him, but I pulled away knowing it was a mistake. And there's the Godskin Noble. And yeah, you can see I have the buckler there. I was trying to parry him, but that didn't really work out well because I suck ass at parrying. So next up we have Rykard, or as he's known in Phase 1, God Devouring Serpent. So I guess with this fight I kinda had to cheat. Because he's the only boss I couldn't beat with a club but it's for obvious reasons. No, the whole fight gimmick is that you have to use this one weapon, the Serpent Hunter, to beat him. So the goal is to like, so at the beginning I can get a free L2 window. I can like the skill on this move does so much damage to him. It's insane. See, I get a poison break, and I punish it with the L. Look how much damage it does. Look at this. Look at this. The second hit, like see, 5,000. That's fucking insane. Yeah. So instead of charge attacks, my goal is jumping R2s and L2s. So to do the most damage. See, I have like the claw talisman to punish him. So this attack is extremely hard to dodge. But the most reliable way I found of dodging it is by running to the left or right for some, and then sprinting, and then jumping right when it happens, and you can jump away from it. I don't know if this is like true, but I found it to be more consistent if you jump to the left instead of right. I know it's just me, but like I would get clipped so many times running to the right and jumping, whereas to the left it's pretty consistent. Okay, so here's phase 2, which is which should be like a lot harder than phase 1, but phase 1 is harder, and only because of that fucking earthquake attack. Phase 2 does have like the Skull Storm, but it's a cool strat to get rid of, to like completely circumvent the attack that I'll show soon. Okay, so he's about to do it here, but now I poison break him, and then I probably should have used the L2 here, but I did 2 charge R2s instead. So here, the fight is, after this fight is over. So you see, he's about to charge up the Skull Storm move, and what I do is that I use the first hit of the skill, the L2, and not the second one, because if I use the second one, I won't be able to stun lock him, and he will keep using this attack for the rest of the fight, trying to use it until he actually pulls it off, but he will never pull it off because I keep stun locking him. See, like, just keep using the first hit, and the fight is literally over. Like, there's nothing he can do here. And it's just L2 spam for the rest of the fight. You know, I kind of felt bad for doing this since it's like his most interesting move. But like, it's fucking hell to deal with, so I didn't really have much of a choice, unfortunately. I might try to do the fight again without doing the L2 cheese, but it could take a while. I'd probably just have to run away from him the whole fucking time while he's in the Skull Storm, which is a bit lame, but at least I'm doing the attack properly. And next up we have the Draconic Tree Sentinel. And I honestly found this one to be easier than the normal Tree Sentinel. Like, the fundamental moveset is arguably harder, but he has a lot more scripted attacks. Like, he always does that really, really long like opening animation and phase 2 transition animation and yeah, they lack hitboxes, so you can easily get free charge R2s on him during that. Free voice breaks as well. And you like, I already got like 3 voice breaks and the fight is nearly over, like 2/3 through. So yeah, again another voice break here. Like, it's a bit of a risk for me doing that, but it looked cool as shit, so I don't care. You can see, like, I was surprised. Like, I have a +12 club here, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but the fight really makes it powerful. Like, I was like, the biggest surprise of this level 1 run was like how much fucking damage I was able to do. Like, I thought I would be doing like bare-fisted level of damage. Like, oh my god, level 1, that's like so low. But turns out like damage doesn't really rely on levels as much as it does on your weapon level. Like, I still allowed myself to upgrade my club in this run, I did over level it to a plus 25 immediately because that would just break the game. So I kept it like a reasonably level, like to the level of progression you'd expect from this kind of run. And like the thing is, even then I still did like a fuck ton of damage. Like see here with Goldfrey, I have no cold. Like even without the cold infusion I gave to it, I'm still doing like a fuck ton of damage to him. And speaking of Goldfrey, this is the same as Godfrey phase 1, but without like the half phase transition and the big fissure attack. It still has the earthquake attacks though. And you can jump over them, and you can even jump R2, punish them, but you gotta do it like a bit earlier. You gotta jump R2 like a lot earlier than you think. Because if you do it too late, he will clip you with his next move. So here, like, I do it here. But I want to wear a next move because I get the poise break. So this, like, Godfrey is one of like the few fights in this game that really encourage jumping and jump dodging as like a defensive and offensive tool. And I really like that. Like, I don't show much of it in Goldfrey, but Godfrey shows a lot more of it. Alright, next up we have Morgott, who is probably, he has one of the most complex movesets out of any boss, and I completely trivialize him here. So after this, the fight, at the first poise break, the fight is basically over. So I have the Stonebark Pract here, and because he has the same poise as Margit, which a poise, an 80 poise is already still like not a lot. But I make it even less of Stonebark. So here he's guaranteed to use that like dagger move, like dagger rain move at like 75% HP, and it's really slow, and you can get like free charge R2s on him during that, and get another free voice break. Like, after 2 voice breaks, he's like already at the phase 2. So I go to phase 2 and I punish the phase 2 transition with another voice break. Like, it is so comically easy to stun lock Morgott, and I felt like really bad for doing it. Because he has one of the most complex movesets in the entire game, and I just like fucking trivialized it. Like, he's like a fucking pushover in this run. Which is kind of sad, because I wanted to do level 1 as a way to like further master and understand boss movesets. But instead, I ended up, I had a harder time with Morgott on my normal run than my level 1 run, and that's saying a lot. Because I said that was mostly due to my lack of knowledge of the game's mechanics. So for my level 1 run, I like fully optimized my build with all the best damaging talismans, Visig Tears, like the correct upgrading. And yes, even at level 1, there's a lot of like build variety and damage optimization like ability in this run. So I will say, I stand by the fact that an optimized level 1 run will always be easier than like an unoptimized normal leveled run. Because you actually know what you're doing. So here next up we have the Regal Ancestor Spirit. And this guy isn't that hard, but he's extremely irritating. So this I used to hate this teleport attack because he just fucks off to do nothing. But until I learned that you could like hit him during that move and take away like half of his health bar. So I have a plus 25 club here, which is probably a bit much for like Miltron, who should be like a plus 12 area. But this dude is incredibly obnoxious to hit. Like, so many attacks I attack with just like whiff because of how fucking thin his legs are. So I figured that like a plus 25 club would speed up the fight a lot, since my whiffs would like still make it for like, even though with a plus 25 club in this early game boss, it is still one of the longer fights of the base game runs. Well, obviously not including the DLC ones that I did without blessings. Because he will always, not only will he always teleport away, but he would always heal. And like, so the healing, like without the healing, he would be a complete joke. And he still is a complete joke with the healing, just like a more long and annoying joke. So here's the bunny hop move that is very easy to avoid. So a lot of his attacks can be a bit tricky to dodge because of like the weird, it can be a bit hard to like intuit what he's doing, because I like because like some of his moves like really blend in with each other. They're all like the same charges and shit. Okay, but okay, I think it's not hard to intuit what he's doing. It's just really hard to punish him. It's how fucking thin his legs are. So here, when he does that at half HP, he's guaranteed the heal. I said this is not that he would be like the ultimate. He would be like the most spongy, like weak boss in this entire game if he couldn't heal. And there is a variant of him that doesn't heal, the normal Ancestor Spirit, which is a cool fight, don't get me wrong, but it kind of takes away from the impact of the Regal Ancestor Spirit. It's like the arena and atmosphere is exactly the same in both fights, so it feels really cheap. I don't really hate like the idea of reusing bosses on the fundamental level, but this is not a good example of one. Like this feels like a one and done experience that can't really be replicated again. And guess what? They replicate it. Like I like the visual storytelling of this boss, but it feels really undermined by both like how obnoxious he is to fight and how he's a literal reskin of a boss that is so similar that it doesn't really justify its existence as like a reuse boss. Like Morgott is like the best example of a reuse boss because, you know, like he may have like the same like animations and shit as Margit, but he has so many new moves and new weapons that he's kind of like a phase 3 to the Margit fight. And it doesn't start off immediately exactly the same as Margit. Like he expands on Margit instead of just repeating him, which I like. I wish more reused bosses would do that. But next up we have the annoying Gargoyle Duo. And some would say this is the worst fight in the game. I used to think that it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, which isn't saying much since it was still hell. So I switched to it. I was originally doing this as a plus 15 club, but I found that it was too hard to deal with both of them at once, so I upgraded to a plus 18 club. So that way I could kill with enough damage and Crackblade, I could kill the first gargoyle fast enough so that I could fight the second one solo. The second one is guaranteed to spawn in when the first one's at half health. But if you have high enough damage, you can kill the first one before the second one even comes in. And it's just a solo fight, which is obviously a lot more manageable. And plus, they're weak to strike damage, and my club is all about strike damage. So, like, it's also a bit annoying since the second gargoyle is harder, dare I say, than the first one. Like, the Twin Blade moveset has, like, a lot more mix-ups than, like, the far more simplistic Halberd moveset. I think it's effectively 4 bosses in one, since there's 2 gargoyles, but they both have, like, 2 separate movesets according to each of their weapons, which is pretty cool. And you think that will provide a lot of variety to this fight, but no, they're both just like really aggressive at the same time. So everything just blends in with each other, and they don't really synergize at all as like a duo boss. I mean, I guess in lore, it's lore accurate. It's lore accurate since like a real duo fight in real life, they wouldn't try to synergize with each other. They would just do whatever the fuck they want. And yeah, I appreciate like the attempt at realism and lore accuracy, but they aren't really consistent with it. Like if they want to be lore accurate, then like if I die, then why don't I stay dead? Like in Dark Souls, they give you explanation for why you don't stay dead and you come back to life whenever you die. But Elden Ring, it does jack shit. Like you just die and come back to life. Like sure, it's just game mechanics, but bosses synergizing with each other and a dual boss is also game mechanics. Okay, I'm ranting now. So here's Astel, Natural Born of the Void. And this dude is a bit weird, like the gargoyles, like the Regal Ancestor Spirit. Like his hurt box is a bit annoying to hit, but not as nearly annoying as the Regal Ancestor Spirit, since like the head is pretty big. It's just the problem is like how much it moves around. So this meteor attack is very intimidating, but if you just panic roll through it, you should be fine. So like those pincer attacks are can be a bit weird to punish if you're like staying close to him. Actually, they're fine. So you see that like gravity AoE attack? That's pretty hard to run. You think you would have to like run away from that, but you won't have enough time to sprint away from it. So what I would do is I would run and then jump at the last second, because sprint jumping actually gives you more distance than the actual sprint. But that way I can outrun the gravity AoE. So here he almost died and I almost fuck it up, but I get the kill at the last hit, or we could teleport away. And if I whiffed that, I would have gotten hit by the teleport AoE. So it was a bit of a risk. So yeah, that's Astel. He isn't that bad, and funnily enough, that even though he's a Remembrance boss, he has a reskin later on in the game that is exactly the same but with a new clone attack, so he's objectively harder, which is kind of lame to do for a Remembrance boss of all time. Like, it's like if you copied it's like if you copied Godrick and put him in the Everjail with more health. Like, imagine how fucking stupid that would be. Okay, so that's a really common occurrence in this game. Like, reusing bosses that don't need to be reused. Like, obviously this game is really big. You're gonna have to reuse the bosses inevitably. But when you do it, like, it's like, there's some areas where they like, it would be better off they just didn't reuse the boss at all. A case in point, I talked about Regal, Ancestor, Spirit, and Astel, and here we have Fortissax, who doesn't look like a reuse at first. Like, visually he's very distinct from the ancient dragons, but look at the moveset and it's exactly the fucking same as like the normal ancient dragons you find in Farum Azula. Like, this dude can be encountered as like a mob, and he's a Remembrance boss. Like, I think visually and OST wise he fits the Remembrance bill, but moveset wise a bit lacking. Like, he does have like the big fork attack and like the cool spinning attack. Those are the two moves that are really actually unique to this fight. But other than that, he's exactly the same as the Farum Azula dragon. Like, see, those aftershock AoEs, I can jump over. So you see, like, for this fight, there's two ways of like approaching it. You can either attack the head for more damage but less punish windows, or conversely, you could attack like the legs for more punish windows but less damage. And I prefer the legs since his head is really inconsistent to hit. Since he doesn't really put it down that much. Even when it does put it down, I will find myself whiffing it so many times. Like, I don't know if it's a skill issue or a game issue. As you see that dive bomb attack, you can jump over it because like there's no hitbox on the heels. There's no hitbox on like his upper body. There's only a hitbox on his legs, which is a bit weird, but it's a pretty cool exploit there, I say. So back to the legs. So like, I prefer going under the legs to like get more punish windows and shit. But the one like caveat is that if you go under him, he has like the lightning rod thing that like hits you after like a few seconds. Like, wait 5 seconds and then boom, the lightning is like, see, I'm about to go under him. I'm about to go under him here. I'm gonna punish him. See, like, the lightning thing is about to hit me. If you like sprint or walk around, then it won't hit you because once it like starts to go off, it'll stay in place. But if you're standing still, it will definitely hit you. You could learn the dodge timing, but it's a waste of stamina, and this fight is a big stamina management test. So it's kind of like a bullet hell, where you have to like run around avoiding all of the lightning AoEs. And staying under him also adds the lightning timer on top of that. So yeah, it's like and you're gonna need a lot of stamina to sprint and dodge away from it. If you don't, you will pretty much be dead. And you can walk instead of sprint. But I did find this to be a bit inconsistent for some reason, so it's a lot safer to sprint it. And you could also just learn dodge timing. Like I said, stamina management is a lot more key in this fighting thing. So this is the only attack where I tried to punish the head, and so many times I miss. The only times where I actually hit his head in that attack is like the beginning and the end of the fight. But that's it. That's literally it. He does it like 5 times, and I missed 3 times in a row. It's kind of sad, but you know, I still get him eventually, so it's okay. Like, this dude is really easy on a normal run, so you can just tank all of the lightning AoEs. But if you try to no-hit him at level 1, nonetheless, it's fucking hell, I'm telling you. Because you have to avoid every single little bit of those lightning AoEs. One slip up and you're dead. Which, I mean, that's obviously true for every no-hit fight, but like, especially for this fight. There's so many dumb ways to die here, and I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom doing it without a plus 25 weapon. Like, I think a plus 25 for this area is like a plus 18 area. But this boss drags on for really long if you don't use a plus 25, so I unfortunately had to do that. Here, I finally punished the head attack for the second time. The first time was in the beginning of the hit, after the beginning of the fight. And I'd be pretty pissed if I did miss that since he was about to die. And I didn't want the fight to go on much longer since I spent like 6 fucking hours on it. And I didn't want to spend another hour. So here's Niall. And as you can see, I used a Bewitching Branch on the first Shielded Knight. Because, oh my god, like so much of this fight's difficulty comes from those 2 knights. Those 2 knights here. It's like Niall by himself is actually pretty easy. Like his windows are very consistent and really, really big. And he's very easy to poison break too. And his resistances are also pretty dog shit. So here I'm gonna strafe around him. And boom, I'm gonna punish. So I tried to like do a normal crit. A normal riposte does a lot more damage than a backstab, which I accidentally did there. But you know, a backstab damage wasn't really my problem in this fight anyway, so it wasn't a huge deal of me making that mistake. Okay, this is a really fun fight to strafe around. If you like run behind his back after those moves, he have pretty consistent punishes. He's guaranteed to just like, I'm gonna do it again here. So I run behind his back, boom, charge R2, and I do another charge R2. If that didn't poise break him, I would have died from like the lightning kick. But I was keeping track of his poise, so I knew it was gonna poise break him, so I just went for it. So I dodge away from like the ice AoE. It doesn't do damage, but it does frost build up, which doesn't count as damage, but I didn't want to like test the rules on that, so I dodged away just in case. And then the fight's pretty much over. It's a pretty simple fight aside from like those fucking summons, which is really, really lame. But you know, it is what it is. They needed a way to make this guy hard, and he's guarding the medallion that leads to the hardest fight in the base game, so they needed some difficulty, I guess. Next up, we have the Fire Giant, and oh my god, man, this guy gave me the most trouble out of anyone in my level 1 run up to this point. Like, before the mountaintops, level 1 is actually like pretty similar to a normal run. Like, you can still do a decent amount of damage. Like, aside from maybe like the low vigor, it doesn't really feel that bad. Like, at best, you'd get 2-shot by a boss. But you already would get 2-shot on a normal run, so who cares? But here, even if you weren't doing no hit, everything is a 1-shot. Which, you know, that doesn't matter for me since I'm doing this damage list. But what really mattered more is like the damage output. Because this dude, they went from like the 10,000 HP of Morgott to the 40 fucking 1,000 HP of the Fire Giant. It's like the phase 1, I find to be shorter. Phase 1 is shorter than phase 2 because it's a lot easier to punish him since his legs are always out. But I find phase 2 like a lot more enjoyable. So phase 1 can be a bit inconsistent because like sometimes like he'll like roll around all the fucking time, and other times he'll just staying still, letting you like punish him as much as you can. So here's phase 2. I forgot to mention this, but in both phases, like this very annoying thing where he can get like stuck in the terrain, and you can't punish him because his legs are trapped there, which isn't like the worst thing in the world. But in a fight that requires like so much like RNG to begin with, which I'll get to later, it can be really annoying. So this is one attack of his, like this big fire breath attack, I'll show it later, that is incredibly inconsistent to dodge. And sometimes like that fight, like it seems pretty similar. You would just like sprint away from it with torrent, but sometimes the fire can like bounce off of like the ground and hit you out of nowhere. It's so annoying. Like that one move killed me so many times, it wasn't even funny. Like a lot of people like make the mistake A lot of people make the mistake of like doing the same thing in phase 1 as phase 2, in phase 2 as phase 1, of like just wailing at his legs. Well, not only do you do less damage, but you also have like go for like a lot more boring of a fight. And it's a lot hard to like punish some of this shit because you can't really see what he's doing since a lot of attacks come from the front except for the roll. And it's here I get like I guess he did the fire breath attack earlier and I was a bit nervous because if he went against that tree stump it would have like bounced away and hit me, which shouldn't happen at all. But the fire physics in this game are really fucked. Because here I get really bad RNG here, he keeps spamming his projectiles, so I go in to try to punish him, but then oh no, 2 flames to the fill. God, what the fuck am I gonna do? Just kite around, wait for him to do his fire attacks, bait it out, go close to him, and let him explode. So like I said, though, this fight, that is more interest. Phase 2 is a lot more interesting if you fight him from like the front instead of from the legs. Because he actually has like a moveset from the front with his legs, with his arms. So yeah, phase 1, his weak spot point is like left leg, but in phase 2, it's his wrist. So, but you can't run up to the wrist like you would with the. You can't, in phase 1, you just run up to the leg and hit it as much as you can. But in phase 2, he likes to have his arms up. So you'll have to like wait for him to get the bait out the attacks where he brings his arm down to hit the wrist. Which is actually pretty interesting. A bit gimmicky, but you know, still pretty interesting. Which yeah, I prefer phase 2. It's a lot more interesting than phase 1, I'd say. And more consistent. But the one caveat is that it's a lot more boring. I mean, like, not necessarily boring, but it's way longer since you have way less windows for punishes. And it's a lot harder to hit his weak point. So here is the poise break. And I probably could have, like, his head is an eye, a giant, like, third eye are a weak spot, both a weak spot, but it can be a bit inconsistent to punish the big eye because sometimes you can like accidentally hit his eyelid and not get like the boost in damage. So I prefer going for the head after the riposte. I did like hit the eye riposte earlier, but I was nowhere near the head, so I had no choice really. Next up we have the Godskin Duo, and this fight is, like you would expect, incredibly annoying at level 1, especially if you're doing a no-hit. I mean, it probably would be a no-hit either way at level 1, but actually you could survive a few hits with like Ritual Shield and Opaline, but I'm not gonna do that obviously as I'm fair and square. Speaking of fair and square, this could be the easiest fight in your level 1 run if you just sleep pot them. And they're a fucking joke if you sleep pot them. Which I didn't want to do. I wanted to fight them and engage in their mechanics, and it just so happens their mechanics are annoying as shit. So I tried to. So my strategy for this fight is to kite the Noble away with throwing daggers. And he's a lot more aggressive than the Apostle. And fortunately, the Apostle is actually like a lot more passive in this state. He'll stay behind and he'll chuck his fireballs at you. And if he goes close to you, he'll most likely do that like leaping lunge attack, which can be easily predicted if you just roll away. So you should never ever fight them when they're close to each other. You will have like no punish windows and they will frame trap you if you do even a single thing. So you really have to like kite one of them away from each other. So yeah, here I did the same roll attack punish as I would in like the Volcano Manor fight of the Godskin Noble. But unlike the Volcano Manor fight, I can actually like punish the roll attack because I can stay on the. He breaks the pillars, but not the base. He only breaks the top of the pillars. So if I stand on the pillars and charge at R2 right as the roll attack, and then I can get a reliable punish, which is really good because this guy has they both have pretty low poise, only of 80. So it only takes 2 charge attacks with Crag Blade to poise break them, and get 1 charge attack, just 1 more, and he does a stab attack, and boom, I poise break him. And that coupled with the bleed damage can make me kill them individually really quickly. But keyword on individually, because if they're together, there is no way I can do this consistently. So I have to kite them away. Particularly Noble. So remember, focus on Noble, kill the Noble, because he's the more dangerous phase 2. So it's best to get him out of the way quickly as possible. So here, I scripted the Apostles phase 2. The fight was basically over after the phase transition. Ice the Apostle. So now it's just, so the rest of the fight, I'm pretty sure it's just like a one-on-one with each of the Godskins. Where it's not even a dual fight, it's more like a Godskin tag team. And the fight is a lot more interesting this way, since instead the tension of the fight comes from them becoming a duo. So you see that resurrection attack, you can act, that has no hyper armor. So you can like, and it doesn't even have a hitbox, so you can like get free punishes on him. And if you do enough charge R2s, you can even poise break them before they can resurrect their bud. Okay, so about that. That was a hit, but it dealt 0 damage, so I didn't really give a shit. So this technically was not a no-hit. However, it was a no damage, and I think that's good enough. I could try to redo the fight as a no-hit, but it is so fucking hell for obvious reasons at level 1. Especially a no-hit without sleep pots with a club. So I just didn't think it would be worth it to just do the entire thing all over again because I made one stupid mistake. Okay, it may have not been a no-hit, but I shouldn't throw away, I learned this lesson the hard way. But I shouldn't throw away a good run because of one dumb mistake. And hey, it's still no damage anyway, so it isn't completely disqualified based off of my rules. I got really lucky there. Like the Noble didn't use his Belly Blast attack. But I said I would always try but I got a lot better at not rolling away instinctively in fear of that attack. Later on, as you see in this fight, as I compare it to Volcano Mana fight. The Apostle also has that one really quick attack, like a double swipe. Like, but it can be a lot more, it can actually be a lot more dangerous than like the Noble's Belly Blast. Not only does it happen in his phase 1 and phase 2, but even if you roll the first one, you can like still get hit by the second one if you don't position yourself well. Which can be a bit annoying, especially on medium load. So yeah, both of them have like a really quick attack that can make punishing them a very, very like stressful. But fast stats, they're individually not that bad. They're just shit as hell as a duo. But like I said, kite them away, make it a solo fight. Use the pillars as guards, as like to guard yourself from the fireballs of the other one, and then fight the other one. Fight a Noble solo melee, and make sure the Apostle's fireballs are blocked by the pillars, so you don't have to worry about the range attacks. Next up, we have Dragonlord Placidusax, and this fight actually isn't that bad. It's actually one of the most weirdly, actually very consistent. It's very easy to script this fight, but I didn't do a whole lot of damage, so I couldn't really like exploit it like I could with Morgott, which is a good thing. So like unlike, so one thing I hate about like dragon fights in this game is like Fortissax, so that they give both the head and the legs as an option, but both options are like really, like the head, like targeting the head is extremely obnoxious for the normal ancient dragons, whereas targeting the legs is a lot easier but also a lot more boring. But for Placidusax, I like is that they put his head so far up that it's clearly just not an option, so you have to target the legs, which makes like dealing with the fight a lot more consistent and clear cut, which I like. And funnily enough, Bale is the opposite, where the ideal strat is just hitting his head, which is probably why he's my favorite dragon fight. Says he's not a gimmick fight, he's like a normal fight that just so happens to be a dragon. But I'm getting ahead of myself, that's Bale. We need to talk about Placidusax. So phase 2 is very similar to phase 1, except that he can teleport every now and then. And these may seem a bit arbitrary, but he always finishes off his teleport chains with that like big double fire breath attack. So like I said, this is a very consistent fight. So he does his teleporting and ends his teleporting right when you expect him to at all times, so it never becomes truly irritating. And you can punish each one with like a light attack every time, so it's not a huge deal. It's not a huge deal either. You can still do a poise damage. So for this attack, I recommend running towards his leg, and then you can get 3 charge R2s. And he has 160 poise. At 3 charge R2s, like I already did a bit of poise damage, so at 0, That would gotten him to like 120, so only one more charge R2 and boom, you've been poise broken. And keep in mind, 160 is a lot of poise. But like with Radahn, he gives you a lot of punish windows, so that balances out his high poise. That attack, the second variant attack that you just saw, like the cloud attack, the second version is a bit tricky to dodge. It lingers for like weirdly long, but the most consistent way I found of dodging it is like sprinting away from it perpendicularly and then dodging away. That way I can outspace it. So it's like it lingers very weirdly. So it's a lot more consistent if you just like outspace it altogether. I'm about to get a poise break here, I think. Yeah, that's a poise break. So I only the only time I riposted him was at the very beginning, because I was right next to his head. And so, but unless you're like right next, if you attack his heads, you will get like bonus damage, but that's not really ideal. Since you got if you're not near his head, you have to run all the way there and waste like the poise break time. So best to just attack his legs. So here is his laser attack, which is extremely hard to dodge if you don't do the strat. Where you can see, I lured him out to the wall, so that the entire attack will just miss me, which sounds a bit lame, but trust me, it's really, really cool to pull off. Like, I like all like the quote-unquote cheeses to pull off in this game. That's probably like the sickest one. Like, it makes him look like a bit of an idiot, but I don't know, man. I like making demigods look like idiots. Like the fight should have ended after that final poise break after like the laser attack, but I fucked it up. I whipped 2 of the charge up punishes, but unfortunately I don't. I nearly lost focus here because I didn't expect him to survive. I wanted like another cold proc, and that didn't happen. But I adapted quickly, so it wasn't a huge deal. And that was Placidusax, not super hard, and the run back wasn't really that bad either. Like, it's a bit long, but honestly, I didn't really mind it as much as Rennala's run back, because like the fight at least begins the moment you step into the fog wall. So you don't have to worry about wasting time on monotonous first phase. Unless you find the entire fight monotonous, which I wouldn't blame you for doing, but I really enjoyed the fight, I don't know why. Next up we have Maliketh, and phase 1 is already over before I can even talk about it. Surprisingly, phase 1 I'd say is harder than phase 2. Okay, maybe not harder, but it's definitely more complex. He has way more mix-ups and like combo extensions in phase 1, whereas in phase 2 they're a lot more isolated in comparison. But however, phase 2 does have some nasty mix-ups, but they're a lot more predictable and position-based than Beast Clergyman's, where you can like, which happen a lot more randomly. So like, unfortunately, Maliketh in both phases has a very like, a bit of a weird hurt box, but not as bad as the Ancestor spirit, but still pretty irritating. So like, Maliketh is like infamous for quote unquote having no openings, but I'd argue that he might have too many openings. So if you stay, so I'm baiting out that like overhead slam attack, where if you stay under him and just charge out to him, you will not get hit. The hitbox will completely miss you. You'll be completely fine. Yeah, he only has 80 poise too. It's incredibly easy to poise break him. If you use throwing daggers to keep up poise damage when he's far away and bait out his overhead slam attack, it really is not that bad in either phases. But it's far from easy, but I do think that he's a bit overrated in terms of difficulty. Next up we have Gideon. And funnily enough, like a lot of people say that this is the worst fight at level 1. And I'm one of the few people who found him like worse at normally when I was fighting him on my normal level playthrough. Well, not because of like level 1 is objectively better, but because I kind of just got better at this fight. Where the strategy is to like bully him. Do not give him any breathing room. Like the moment he rolls away, R1 him. Just it's just R1 spam, just like the good old Dark Souls days. Yeah, he can use the projectiles, become incredibly annoying. He is like the textbook spell spammer, but if you keep up pressure, if you keep throwing daggers, keep R1ing him, he won't really use them a lot. I mean, well, he will still try to spam them, but he will be pressured into just rolling away, which will like make it a lot harder for him to be annoying. So a wise man once said, if the boss is annoying, be annoying as shit to them too. So here does Malenia Scarlet Aeonia, which he will only do this move if you beat Malenia before Maliketh, which is what I did. And this guy is the only reason why I beat. So if you beat Rykard, Mohg, Malenia before Maliketh, he will never use his triple ring attack. Like the triple discs are like the most obnoxious move in his toolkit. And without them, he's a lot easier. Which is a good thing why I beat Rykard, Mohg, and Malenia before Maliketh. And yeah, he's an NPC fights are infamously bad, and Gideon is no different. But I actually ended up enjoying it, but only because of how much I could just bully it. And if I don't bully him, the fight is hell, I agree. And next up we have Godfrey, my favorite fight in the base game. And honestly, even with the DLC is my favorite fight. So I already showcased like a lot of his moveset in Goldfrey, and I became a lot better here. And so let's say even outside of like his like stomp attacks, there's a lot of cool jump punishes you can do. Like you see at the beginning of the fight, jumping like the aftershock of his axe throw, and I sprint strafe like the overhead slam, the spinning slam, which I don't really need to do, but it's cool for style points. So here's like the base transition he's guaranteed to do. And the fight is over after this, unfortunately. Yeah, the fight is basically over. It's really easy to script in Phase 2. Phase 1 is a normal fight, but Phase 2, you can script it so easily, it's not even funny. So I circle strafe the first grab, which is guaranteed to do, and he's guaranteed to do this phase transition. This mini phase transition at like quarter health, which I can always punish if a jump R2. I probably could punish like it midway with another jump R2, but I didn't want to voice break him immediately, which isn't really ideal, but I want to showcase one of his moveset. And as you can see, I still failed in doing that. But yeah, that's Godfrey and Hora alone. Amazing fight, and I kind of feel bad for trivializing it. I probably should have used cold, but hey, RL1 is all about playing optimally when you have a low level build, so I stay true to the spirit of the run. So here's Radagon, where on the moveset level, I think he's way harder than Elden Beast. But in this, at RL1, he was a lot easier because of how easily scriptable he was. Here, after the first, he's not only is he weak to strike damage, but he's also pretty easy to poise break. He has 120 poise, which is actually like a lot more than like, it's about the same as like an average boss. Like the same as Godfrey, but it's way easier to poison break because of how many scripted attacks he does and how easy it is to punish those scripted attacks. So yeah, he's scripted to do like the Stomp and the Elden Shattering at 60% and 40% respectively. And it's really easy to get charge R2s off during those moves. And jumping R2s. So you can just get poise break him immediately after. And the fight is over. So I did, like a Godfrey, I felt a bit bad for trivializing him, but like I said, not like I said, it's really hard to practice Elden Beast if you have to worry about Radagon every time. So he basically became like Genichiro in like the Ishin fight, where he became so easy that he was like a pseudo run back. But that allowed me to learn Elden Beast a lot more, which is actually pretty good. So I can like consistently try to no-hit Elden Beast instead of just dying to Radagon stupidly every single time, which I like. Speaking of Elden Beast, his moveset is like a lot simpler than Radagon's, but he's harder because of one move that is, you guessed it, Elden Stars. Well, I don't ever have to deal with it. It's scripted to use it at 50% HP. But fortunately, I stagger him in the middle of I poise break him in the middle of an animation, so I never have to deal with it. which was amazing. But in case he didn't do that, I was prepared to do the close range dodge, which is a bit esoteric. But so what you gotta do, I don't showcase in the video, but you have to circle, walk away, circle, and then wait for the move to come out, circle around Elden Beast by sprinting, and then hopefully it'll mess up the tracking of Elden Stars, and then Elden Beast will go in front of you, in the middle of you and the Elden Stars, and he will block the movement of the move, allowing you to run away completely from it. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird dodge. I don't know if it's like the intended way of dodging it. It feels a bit janky. But, you know, it's a cool way of dodging the move. And there's no other way to dodge it without using Bloodhound Step, which is a lame afterward. So I had to learn it. A bit lame that I never had that the learning was all for nothing since I always broke him before doing it. But I prefer me never use that all than me doing the annoying ass dodge. Some fine with that. And like I said, so this fight really is not that bad apart from Elden Stars. It says I've always and he likes to stall a lot with his projectile attacks. But I get a bit of like bad RNG here when I was far away. But once I'm close to him, he's usually a lot more likely to use his melee attacks, which is really good since I get more punish windows. That explosion move, I don't know if you can dodge into it. It seems too thick to dodge into, but if you could, it'd be pretty cool. Since I get more consistent charge R2 punish instead of just sprinting away. It's kind of lame. And then after this, the fight is basically over. Yep, this is the... Oh my god, the catharsis I felt at this moment. Like knowing that I had beaten Elden Ring at level 1 without getting hit. Apart from the times when I got hit. That was like the catharsis. When you see God slain after beating Elden Beast, it hits different RL1, I'm telling you. But alas, that is far from it. I'm barely even halfway through. Next up we have DLC Gatekeeper Mohg. And he is a really good fight in phase 1. And not as good in... I think I do like phase 2, but it can be a bit annoying because of like... After every single move he has like the Blood Flame AoE, which I like on paper since it encourages like more thoughtful positioning by staying close to him. But it lingers for so fucking long. It comes out after every single fucking move that like it became an active hindrance in the fight. So many times I would like walk back like an inch and get hit by it, which would be fine normally, and even at level 1 I'll be okay. But no, this is no hit. So this is one of the hardest bosses to no hit, but he's also pretty easily scriptable. So like with a good RL1 build and with Mohg's Shackle, you can kill him before he even gets to phase 2. With a very, very simple script, but I didn't want to do that since it makes the fight way too easy, so I fought him fair and square. So yeah, we always have to stay close to him. And another annoying thing about it's annoying, but you can always punish, like his attacks are pretty delayed, so you can like always punish him with a quick R1 to keep up poise damage. And here, after this is like the final poise break. And one move he didn't use here was like this big flying attack where he like shoots in the air and then like swoops down. And he follows up with like either like the slow delayed swing or like the really quick like ground stab, which is a bit hard to react to since if you like roll immediately in anticipation of like the quick ground stab, you get rolled caught by like the delayed swing, which is very annoying. And I wish I showcased it off in this video, but alas, I killed him before he could do it. So like I said, he's funnily enough he was weak to bleed, but I guess that makes sense since, well, the Lord of Blood, he's weak to blood loss, not like the act of blood itself. So I guess that kind of does make more sense. Up next is Loretta, the real one, and he was, even without, I used Stone Barb here to easily Voice Breaker. Like, even with Stone Barb, it was a pretty simple fight. Even more so than like the Ghost fight. So after this, the fight is like literally over. So I get one, and the fight is scripted. So what I do is I do 2 charge R2s. That's scripted, and I get free poise break, and 2 charge R2s, and then another free poise break, because that move he's guaranteed to use it after the phase transition. And just like Rykard, she'll keep trying to use it until she actually lands it. So if you keep poise breaking her, she'll be stuck in that loop like basically forever. Well, I don't know if it's infinite, but I kill her so fast that he only uses it twice, so I will probably need a source on that. Up next we have Malenia, the Blade of Nicola, if you didn't know. And she has never known defeat if you didn't know. So this fight took me 40 hours over the course of 5 days. It took me like, before this, the longest fight was Mohg. It took about 8 hours. Malenia took 5 times the amount of time Mohg took, which is kind of insane. And it's purely because of Waterfowl Dance. Like that one move, she would be so, I'm telling you, like, that's why I kind of like dislike this fight. Like, it relies so much, the difficulty of it relies so much on like that one move that it feels so artificial. But she doesn't feel like a fierce warrior. She feels like a cheater who can like just like use that move whenever she wants but chooses not to. Yeah, she's very, well, to be fair, she wouldn't be like easy. Waterfowl, like, there's still a bit of difficulty that comes in like how she can chain the combos together, and like her animation cancels and stagger cancels. But like, it's not that hard to deal with if you get used to it. And Waterfowl is just that one insane move that makes the fight like 10 times more hell to deal with on so many levels. Like, without it, like, she would still be a hard boss, but not the hardest. But see this move? It pissed me off so much because I practiced the close range dodge so many times. So much of like the learning process of Malenia was practicing the close range dodge of Waterfowl. My favorite is the one where you jump away, then roll in, then you strafe around the third flurry. But as you can tell, the only time she uses it is at long range in this fight, and the move is incredibly easy to dodge at long range. All you gotta do is run away, then just like roll in. By close range, that's where it's hard to dodge, but she never ever uses it in the fight. So all of the learning was for nothing. I learned the move for nothing. Okay, well, she does try to use it again there, but I throw a knife at her before she can do it. So yeah, she's scripted to use a Scarlet Aeonia at the beginning of phase 2. And a smart thing I do, I save my physic tier for the second phase, since it has my stamina recovery and my stone barb. That way I can easily poise break her, since she doesn't have a lot of poise. Yeah, she only has 80 poise. And you'd be, so she has the same poise as Morgott, the Stunlock King. So you'd be surprised how much like how hard it would be to stunlock her. So the thing about Radahn titties is like this is a very unique mechanic. Unique quotation marks where like she has some hype, so you can stagger her obviously with like hit stun her with like normal attacks, like even like the basic R1s, but sometimes she can stagger cancel this, and also she has hyper armor moves where she can't get staggered. But if you try to poise break her during that, not only will she not be poise broken, but her timer will immediately start and she will start recovering poise. Like here, I have to charge R2. That probably would have poise broken her if she didn't use her sidestep attack with hyper armor. And she immediately resets her poise. Yeah, I punish that again here. And she once again does the hyper armor sidestep. Like, I think like the fight, I'm glad that it has hits. I appreciate the fact that they wanted to make like a demigod boss to like a hit stun property. But like they give her so many like hyper armor like moves and stagger cancel mechanics that like it becomes so inconsistent to like punish her. Sometimes she'll let you like attack thrice in a row. A lot of times she'll like stagger cancel your very first punish. Like she can like recovery cancel your punishes. It's insane. And it's completely arbitrary. Like I prefer if she had hyper armor on all of her moves than it happening on some of her moves. Like, the only thing I hate more than an annoying boss is an inconsistent boss. Malenia is one of the most inconsistent fights in the game, by far. I don't think it's like a terrible fight, but actually I do kind of like it, especially phase 2, but man, it could have been so much better, I swear.
I finally met my match.
Sorry, I had to briefly pause the audio commentary to get some water because I'm thirsty as fuck. But now I begin the DLC with no blessings as well as at level 1. So I'm extra masochistic today, and we start with Dancing Lion. And this boss like was a lot harder than I expected. So the weird thing about this fight is that it's actually pretty simple in phase 1. That all these like moves have like very consistent punish windows. And you see this move is really cool to punish. So you stand earlier I showcased it where you stand back a bit, and you can, if you charge R2, then you can duck under the first attack and you can duck under the first part and then roll in to the second half of the hit behind him and punish the corkscrew. And then when he does a breath attack, he spins around and he can jump over the breath and go in and charge R2 him again. And if you have Crag Blade with the club, that'll do like 130 poise damage, and he has 120 poise. So that'll be a free poise break no matter what. But in the lightning phase, it becomes like absolute hell because you lose pretty much all of your punish windows except for the grab, the downward slam, the downward bite, and of course the cold corkscrew attack. Although it's not as punishable as it was in phase 1 because it also has the lightning AoEs in the first half. You can only punish the end. And the wind phase I think is by far the easiest, since it doesn't really, actually it makes the corkscrew attack is even easier to punish because it just ends before he even does the spinning breath. So you see, so here he does 2 corkscrews, but he doesn't do the spinning breath for some reason in the wind phase. I have no idea why, but that's just how it is. So yeah, those are the only new moves he gains in the wind phase, just those tornadoes. And the ice phase is probably the second hardest. He has this like one frost storm attack which you have to jump over. He doesn't use it in the video because I kill him before he can do it, which is kind of unfortunate. But this fight is really annoying, so I'm glad I got over it quickly. It's really annoying at level 1, especially with no hit. And without blessings, you pretty much have to no hit every single boss without blessings, because he also gave you the damage boost, the damage received boost. And so you not only get 2 times the amount of damage, you take 2 times less damage, which wouldn't really matter for me anyway since I'm doing hitless. But what really does matter to me is the lessened damage output, because later, so as you can see later, Radahn is a nearly 7-minute fight, and with blessings that will only be 3 minutes, which is still already very hard for a fight of that caliber, and 7 minutes just exacerbates that further. And back to the Dancing Lion, even though I'm Rellana, I just want to mention that the Dancing Lion is really annoying. Like with the Red Wolf of Radagon, I find it really difficult to intuit what he's doing because a lot of his bite attacks and lunges look very similar to his idle animations when he just moves his head around. So like I said, I don't really like those like animal bosses. Or, I mean, he's not really an animal, but he basically is. Okay, next up we have Rellana, and she is a really good fight, but an extremely annoying one to learn because of how many fucking combo extensions that she has. Like every time I died to the boss, even after like 1,000 times, I would find new combos she could do, which I don't showcase much of in the video since I kill her in 3 minutes, which is already pretty long, but it is not long enough to justify how complex this boss is. Like at least a 10-minute fight should justify, you need at least a 10-minute long fight to show off all of her moves, and that's saying a lot. And just one uppercut attack that comes out really quickly, she does her left arm like, and that killed me a lot in the hitless run, especially since like even if I wasn't doing hitless, it would one-shot me. So, and it's so hard to react to. It's not like super quick, but I think the tail can be covered up. I'm pretty sure the tail is covered up by her torso because she puts her arm behind her back. But the most consistent way I found of dodging it was by low profiling it. So after a crouch or me ducking with a charge R2. See, I duck here just in case she does it. I duck right in front of her. I can low profile the uppercut, which is really, really good. I don't even have to react to it or panic roll in case she does it. I showed her, I did quite a bit earlier, but I can't show off anymore because the fight is already over. Yeah, with Blessings, this fight is pretty easily scriptable. She's guaranteed to do the carrying, the giant sword attack at 60%. Then she does her phase transition at 50%. Then Twin Moons at 25%. Which I could still quite take advantage quite a bit even without Blessings. But with Blessings, you can pretty much trivialize the fight. Which I couldn't do. And I'm glad because one of my biggest disappointments at RL1 normally in a base game was I was doing too much damage. So 0 Blessings is a great way to balance things out. Whereas I wouldn't be fights wouldn't go on as long as they would in a weapon level 0 run, but it couldn't be a trivialized as easy as they would with a plus 25, 20 Blessings run, which I really like. Up next is Putrescent Knight, and for a mountain boss, he's not super bad, and he likes to go. The one annoying part of him is that he likes to go fuck off sometimes, but he always comes back eventually, so it's not a huge deal. And one thing this boss isn't. I don't really have a lot to say about this fight. It's one of the more boring Remembrance bosses. It feels kind of undercooked. I do like the jumping attacks, having to jump the fires in phase 2, and I do kind of like the flow of phase 1, how it and the slam, always a combo finisher. You can sometimes follow up with a second slam, so you can't always risklessly punish the first time. I like that, but it does feel pretty undercooked for Remembrance. I feel there's a missing third phase. Even phase 2 feels more like a phase 1.5. It just adds the fire, the gooning fire, and nothing else. Here, let me show you here. So for the gooning fires, you have to jump over it, just like Rellana's Twin Moons. But unlike Rellana's Twin Moons, it's a lot harder to roll into it. So it encourages dodging, or jumping especially well. And pretty much every boss in the DLC has at least one move that encourages jumping, which I really, really love, but I felt like it was too late. Whereas people have already become so close to just dodge rolling everything that they encourage jumping at the wrong time. I wish more base game bosses did that. Aside from Godfrey. And even then, Godfrey was an endgame boss, so it was too late by then anyway. Okay, next up we have the Golden Hippo, and this is the worst fight in the entire game by far. Oh my god, this fight is so... It's not that super hard, but it is so fucking annoying. Even if the camera was good, I would still hate it. Even if the arena was a claustrophobic, even the camera function, it would still suck ass. I hate internalizing. There's so many times you he stops at the go, and he suddenly bites. I don't like those moves where you have to internalize the timing and there's no natural tell. I mean, I get it's an interesting challenge for a humanoid boss because it makes sense because they're humans with a brain. They'll definitely try to intentionally trick you by doing delayed attacks. But this dude is a fucking animal. It's a fucking hippo. He's not smart. He's stupid as shit. How is he gonna trick you by delaying his attacks he's trying to roll catch you. This literal hippo is gonna roll catch you. He's delaying his attacks to roll. That's just so fucking dumb. I don't care. That makes no sense. If they want to be lore accurate by removing Stakes of Marika and Rennala's in Raya Lucaria because Rennala hates Marika, and not having Stakes of Marika in Azula because she didn't exist yet back then make the Golden Hippo not do delayed attacks. It's that simple, okay? But this thorn attack is really annoying. The timing is a bit weird. It's not his most annoying thorn attack. The most annoying one is the Raining Thorns. Because I'm pretty sure the position is RNG. So many times I would just panic. There's no consistent way of dodging that I found. But he never does that in the video because he's guaranteed to do that during the phase 2 transition. But fortunately I staggered him before he can do it. And he never uses it again to my luck. Yeah, this dude. doesn't look like it, but he has 80 poison. Varus is very, very low. And that's the only good thing about this fight, is that you can easily stun him. Which makes up for the fact that he doesn't really have like a lot of big openings. So the fight is over here, and it's really hard to get riposte on him, because his big ass head always gets stuck in the wall. And riposte are key to this fight, because it's so easy to poise break him, like I said earlier. Next up we have Gaius, and this is one of the most overhated bosses in the entire game, and please don't at me on that. I really do think this boss is overhated. Yeah, I really do not, I've not seen a single person complain about anything related to him other than the charge attack. And yeah, that move is a bit annoying. So what I did here, like, I equipped the all Crucible's talisman so I could get extra iframes on my dodge roll. Which didn't really, and that is the increased that. I sure I take 45% extra damage, but remember, this is a hitless run, so that doesn't matter at all. That's the one thing about the Crucible Talisman. It's pretty much, it's made for hitless runs. Like, it's useless in any other run. If you want backstepping, use the backstep talisman. If you want extra iframes, use the iframe only talisman. And if you want both, you are gonna get fucked unless you can dodge everything perfectly. And if you can dodge everything perfectly, you're not even gonna need the iframe talisman in the first place. Like, if you want them to not get hit, and you already not gonna try to not get hit in the first place, so it's pretty useless. So unless you're doing hitless like me. So you can see that I dodged that one a bit early, but without the extra 3 iframes from the Crucible Talisman, I definitely would have died. And which is a bit of a skill issue on my part, but you know, it is what it is. It's just one missed opportunity. I did use a few backsteps earlier. You saw me backstepping his war slams. I think backstepping, I'm glad there's a backstep talisman, but I really wish you just had normal backstep iframes without the talisman. Like, if they're gonna include the backstep animation without iframes or hyper armor, then what's even the point? Like, at least restrict it to the talisman or make it a base feature. Which, I mean, I do get why it's not in this game, since it would be far too lenient, it would be far too easy to execute compared to the typical dodge rolling. So they also just have the input delay that dodge rolling has, because, you know, it doesn't input on release, unlike dodge, just like dodge rolling. But the other extremely weird thing about the backstep, well, not in this game, in Bloodborne. And Bloodborne, I'm so shocked. I'm getting off topic here, but I'm so shocked that Bloodborne does not have iframes on the backstep. Like, so I tried the iframe Ludwig with my backstep, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I iframe it? And I went to find out, wait, backsteps don't have iframes, even though they have the exact same animation as the normal quick step dodge. Like, that's so fucking weird. I get an Elden Ring, but why Bloodborne? Okay, I'm getting off topic. Back to Gaius, and Gaius is already dead. So yeah, not much to say about Gaius, honestly, other than the charge attack. But it's pretty easy to dodge if you have the Crucible Talisman. But if you don't have the Crucible Talisman, I am advised the best method I found dodging it is by running to the left to the right. And then dodging to the left right when he comes. So you can throw off the tracking. So that he goes to the side. And he chases to the side instead of chasing you. And then you can dodge the war charge completely. Because the shitty thing about the board charge hitbox is that it's all over his body. So then if you completely outspace his body by dodging to the side, you won't have to worry about the hitbox at all, and the timing is a lot more lenient. So I guess I didn't really need a Crucible Talisman for that, but I still wanted it for the backstep, so it's okay. Next up we have the Sunflower. And this fight is very overhated, but it's also not a masterpiece. Really, like, there's some weird lingering hitboxes, but I'm not gonna call it like a fundamental issue with the fight. I'm pretty sure it's just a skill issue. It just fucks me up. That the depth perception of the thorns when they're coming at me. But in retrospect, I could have made the dodge easier by locking off and looking down, so I could see how close the thorns are to me instead of relying on my shit-ass depth perception. I do it again later with Bale's Fire Breath, like giant fire breath attack, which I will showcase in a while, but let's focus on the Sunflower first. A lot of people like to say that phase 3 is the hardest because of like the nuke attack, and I disagree honestly. if you can dodge, the nuke attack is very intimidating, but if you can dodge, once you dodge it once, you get like that massive punish window. And if you have fire that infusion like you have here, he's extremely weak to fire. You can basically just end the fight there and get a free poise break. So I do believe phase 2 is the hardest, since not only does it have a bit more HP than phase 1, even if you remove a third of his health by riposting at the end of phase 1, he still has more HP. And he has all those added bone AoEs after all of his phase 1 attacks in phase 2. Which you won't see, and phase 3 is the same with the Holy Nuke. But like I said, you won't see much of the moveset, since if you can dodge, successfully dodge that nuke, you can just end the fight before you can do anything else. And I nearly fucked that up, but you'll see later. I like this like crawling attack. You can dodge into him and then charge R2 his torso, and then come back in and charge R2 his head, and that's 360 poise. And he has 120 poise, so that's already half of his poise. And get another free stun lock. You're gonna have to like a stagger. So one thing you gotta be careful about is that you shouldn't try not to riposte him during phase 1 and 2, because if you riposte him after a poise break, normally in phase 1 and 2, you won't be able to get the riposte at the end of the phase, and thereby decrease the next phase's health by a third, which is really bad, obviously. So try not to do that. Only riposte at the very end. But in phase 3, it's okay, as you can tell here. Let's see, I dodged just 2 attacks, and boom, I did so much damage to him. And I should have ended it here, but I didn't walk forward enough because I'm a dumbass. And he just stares to my soul for a bit, and I charge R2 and it doesn't work. So this is a charge attack, which is a bit of a weird lingering hitbox, but he only does it once, so it's not a huge deal. He does the thorns again, which you should probably side dodge, but I'm just a dumbass, so I dodge into it. But it's fine, because of the Crucible Talismans, the iframe dodging is a lot more forgiving, and that's it. That's the Sunflower. Pretty simple fight, but does have a few caveats that can make it a bit more difficult, like I said, the Holy Nuke, but it's very rewarding to punish that. And I really like that move, because it gives you a choice between either running away for missing the giant punish window, or you can learn to internalize the dodge timing, and then get that massive punish window, which I really like. It's one of those multifarious moves, so there's multiple ways to engage with it, which I really like about Elden Ring. I wish there were more of those moves. Like Waterfowl and the Holy Nuke, and I think Elden Stars, kinda. There's only really one way of dodging it, and it's really obnoxious. It just doesn't really feel intended. So you can try other ways, just outrunning it normally, but it fail. But once I get off topic, back to Mesmer. So Mesmer is probably the best fight in a cold take, but he is probably the best fight in the DLC by far. It's hard to sip my water. My throat hurts. So I can poise break him quite a bit in this fight. He's not as poise breakable as someone like, say, Morgott or Malenia, but he still does have not too much poise. 120, about the same as Rellana. So there's this attack. You can actually crouch under like the flurry part of that attack, but it's too much of a risk. I think you can even jump over like the first spinning part, which is pretty crazy, but I could never do that consistently. So I just opted to dodge it normally, which is a bit lame, but dodging that move is never lame. It's the coolest move to dodge in the game. So I also have all Crucible's talismans here, because his fire moves have very strange lingering hitboxes. It's not broken or anything, but they linger a bit too long for my taste. So I have the Crucible Talismans to give me the extra iframes to make them a little less stressful to dodge. I don't know if I'm the only person who has that problem in the fight, but hopefully I'm not the only one. Surprisingly, phase 2 is easier than phase 1. Sure, he has more of those like big snake attacks, but they're pretty intuitive to dodge, honestly. They always open their mouth a bit right before they come at you, so you can dodge them on the spot. And he also loses a lot of his combo chains in phase 1. So you see this, I'm about to show you it. After this, I'm going to show you his most basic combo chain. And in phase 1, it's okay, I'll show you. After this, he does his spin attack. Okay, then he throws his fire and pushes at me, and if you suck his home, he will always follow up with the spinning attack, which you can jump over in R2. But in that's only in phase 2, because in phase 1, he has like 3-4 different moves he can do out of that, and the spinning AoE attack is only one of them. If you jump instinctively, you get clipped by the delayed one, which is definitely shit, but it's reasonably shit, since he has a lot of combo chains in phase 1, and he's very, very simplistic in phase 2. Surprisingly, well, I actually really like that, because you know he's tapping into this weird untapped power, and so he's obviously gonna become a lot weaker and a lot stupider as a result. So I like how he just doesn't become just more powerful in every way in phase 2. It's a really unique concept for a boss. The acid pool on that giant snake flurry attack killed me more times than the actual snakes. Like, I didn't even know that did damage until I forgot to dodge, and I was a bit pissed off because I nearly clipped him. I nearly got him, and I was like, he had like 5% HP. I nearly got him, but he did the flurry, and the acid hit me. It wasn't even like a one-hit run. There was like multiple hits in one. It was really annoying, but you know, it was a skill issue. I adapted and I got used to it. And I guess I get why the acid is there, because if not, you could just freely punish him during the long-ass phase 2 flurry. But, you know, it caught me off guard many times. That was the only really annoying thing about phase 2. And aside from that, pretty simple phase, which is pretty ironic considering how complex phase 1 is. And it's kind of like the opposite of Rellana, where it becomes even... Phase 1 is already very complex with Rellana, but she becomes even more complex in phase 2, which is kind of crazy considering how many combo chains such as phase 1 already has. Which is why I stand by the fact that Rellana would be the hardest fight on a fundamental moveset level. She is the hardest fight to no-hit in the game. Malenia is only harder because of Waterfowl, and Radahn is only harder because of his resistances. So here we have Romana, Saint of the Bud, or as I like to call her, Bug Woman. I don't know, this is the only Bug Woman in the series. That's not Queelag. It's a bit, I don't know, Miyazaki has a fetish for that, but oh my god. Okay, so here, his face. So this move is instant. This move is actually instant. So she's guaranteed to use it at the beginning of phase 2, so you can predict it. So it coming out instantly isn't the worst thing in the world, but she can use it again throughout the rest of phase 2, which is really fucking dumb. However, one thing I found out, which is very useful, is that if you stay close to her side, she will never use it outside of the guaranteed phase transition version, which is really, really good. Because other than that, you have to play really, really passively. In preparation, you have to keep rolling away after every single move and hoping that she doesn't do the instant AoE if you don't stay too close to her side, which is really, really bad for stamina management. And she can do one for delayed roll catch moves, so she can easily get clipped. I think she's about to do it here. Okay, so for this attack, this is a bit weird, but if you dodge the left, so dodge the first one a bit early so you can dodge the second one. Because if you dodge the first one too late and not to the left, you can easily get frame tapped. One thing I like Romana is that she's very much a position based. She really tests you a lot on your positioning more so than your timing. Whereas if you dodge like in the centipede in the wrong way, you can easily get frame trapped by the positions. And if you dodge like it too late, you can get frame trapped by the really quick next part of the move. So you gotta make sure you dodge it in the right timing and the right position in order to prevent getting checkmated by her next move, which I really, really like. I wish more bosses did that. It's a really neat concept for the boss, but she does have a few annoyances like the instant AoE, which can really get your nerves. But like I said, if you make sure you stay close to her side at all times, and prepare for the instant phase transition one, which you can predict, it's not super bad, fortunately. Okay, next up we have Jory, Elder Inquisitor, and this is the Gideon of the DLC, I like to call it, wherein he or she, they are really fucking annoying to fight normally because of their summons and shit, and in Gideon's case, it's spell spamming. But if you know how to bully the shit out of them, you will have a lot of fun, I'm Trust me. Bullying Jory is one of the most fun experiences you can have in this game. So as you can see here, you can fully backstab loop the entire fight. Backstab him right before he teleports, and he will never use the summons forever. It's perfect. It's like free real estate. It's absolute genius. So what you gotta do, so get backstab, then walk forward R1, sprint to the left, dodge, okay, and then just walk to Jory and then press R1. The backstab, her box is very forgiving, trust me. And in case she does that, just dodge, and then you can still get it in the backstab. It's super duper. Okay, here's the teleport, and make sure you can fuck up a few moves, but if you fuck up the teleport, the fight is pretty much like over. Because if he uses the summons, you are fucked in every way in the ass. No hitting this fight without the backstab chain is a whole other level of pain, which I will never ever tap into. Trust me. Okay, teleports here, and then he tries to teleport, and I backstab him. I think it's a poise break. He only has 80 poise, but I only poise break him once because I'm not using any charge R2s. I'm only using R1s, so I can focus on getting the backstab. It's really good. I don't think you need to do the R1 after the backstab, but it's good for making for maximum DPS, so the fight doesn't drag on super long. And make sure you go to Blade of Mercy too, since you'll be getting constant crits for the backstabs, and therefore just free 20% damage. So I nearly fuck up the backstab here by missing 2 of them, but fortunately I got lucky and he didn't use a teleport, so I was all good. Okay, so with Midra is a bit of a... He's a really good boss, but he's not my favorite anymore. I prefer Mesmer now. He's very, very simple compared to Mesmer, even in phase 2. So, and especially Rellana, like, you have this one triple slash attack, like, do. He will always, whenever he does that, he has no combo chains out of that. He will, and you can always punish that with a charge R2. On top of that, like, it's already very easy to poise break him because he has 80 poise and very big windows. And so after you have to kill the baby Midra at the beginning of each fight, which is a bit annoying, but well, this game already have very forgiving checkpoint placements. So what's so bad about having a so the side race placements in the game are already very forgiving compared to like DS1 and Bloodborne. So what's so bad about giving them a pseudo run back with an annoying first phase? Really, I don't really mind it at all. I used to find it annoying, but I don't really mind it anymore. So you can see after every attack, after every riposte, I walk behind him and then punish him with CR2. You don't really need to do this, but if you stay, I find that if you stay behind his back, he has a far more predictable moveset. Since you limit his chain to like only 3 moves. You gotta do like the quick knife attack, or he could do the friend, or he could do like the very slow like attack, the slash attack. Whereas if you stay in front of him, he can do whatever he wants. And yes, he has a lot of moves, but they don't really chain into each other in a way like Rellana or Mesmer could. They're all very isolated. See that move? Doesn't look like it, but you can jump over it. Which I don't know if that's optimal, but it is really cool. No, I think it's pretty good for getting jump R2 punishes, so I do recommend doing it. Oh, look at this. This is one of the most fun moves to finish in the whole game. So I jump over the first 2 attacks. R2, dodge the next 2. R1, dodge away, R2. Yeah, I bet you didn't know you could jump over those first 2. I never knew either. You can do it for pretty much all of his flaming sword attacks in phase 2. Or phase 3. Or maybe, or as you may call it, phase 3, considering where you have the baby face as phase 1 or phase 0. I just count it as a phase 0, honestly. So again, once again, I riposte, walk behind him, R2, R1 again, music and a cold procs again for you punish, R2. So I fucked that up a bit. I wanted to bait out his next slam so I can punish that with like a reliable jump R2. But my next attack was a poise break, so it wasn't a huge deal. And once again, that's a triple slash attack, which is very consistently punishable. And that fire test slash attack you can also punish with jump R2, which is really, really good and really badass. And it's also very ideal, trust me. this is, a lot of people struggle with this move, but it's honestly not that bad. All you gotta do is just run away. What's more dangerous is what he can do after the move. Sometimes he does the big chaos laser attack, which can be concealed by the aftershock, after effects, and the FV effects of the giant explosion. And he does do that for me. But fortunately, I ran into him and punished him with CR jumping R2 just in time, or just before he could do it. So I got pretty lucky on that part. So it wasn't like concealed. So I guess it can be a bit annoying, but it's not. This fight is overall pretty fair and balanced for the most part. No big complaints. Up next we have Metyr, Mother of Fingers, and this fight is one of the worst fights at level 1. And even without this one laser attack, I got really lucky. She never uses it, but it is literally undodgeable. You cannot dodge it without an iframe Ash of War like Raptor or Valve the Indomitable. Unfortunately, I forgot to do Yura. I got locked out of Yura's quest, so I couldn't get Raptor. But unfortunately, some guy on r/1 bros, I forgot his name, but I'll credit him later. Like, it was like Elton John or something. Shout out to him, he's the GOAT. He gave me Raptor the miss, so I could dodge Metyr's laser, which is so good because I tried to do with a Valiant Indomitable, but it's a lot less forgiving than Raptor because it's a bit of a startup, which is very annoying, especially for a fight that's this hard at level 1. So phase 1 isn't that bad. Sometimes she won't follow up with her combos. You see this triple? This is meant to be a triple slam, but sometimes she only does it twice, which is very weird. I have no idea why she just forgets to do the rest of her combo. And that's not even the only move it happens for. He also has the hand slam attack, which should happen 3 times, but sometimes he only does it twice. It's just very, very strange. So this Beyblade attack lingers for quite a while, but if you run under her while it happens, you can avoid it. After a second, oh my god, I hate when she summons in the ads. And shout out to Mr. Carnage on 1bros for suggesting me to use hefty red lightning pots to kill the ads. Oh my god. The ads, apart from the laser and the Beyblade attack, the ads were by far the most annoying part of the fight. If you stay closer, I don't think she'll ever do it. But the thing is, she likes to fuck off all the time, so you'll inevitably have to be far away from her. And she will spot in ads, which is really, really annoying. So yeah, this fight is kind of like Rom from Bloodborne if she actually had a moveset and instead of relying on her ads all the time, which is good. I don't think this fight is better than Rom, but the bar is extremely low. Well, Rom is really boring, but Metyr is just really, really frustrating and shit. Even on the laser attack, she has so many weird lingering hitboxes and frequently forgets to follow up on her combos and summons in ads and the Beyblade attack. It's just a really, really frustrating boss all around. And phase 1 isn't even that bad. It's just phase 2 that's annoying as shit. Up next we have Vale the motherfucking Dread. Oh man, this fight is so good, apart from that fire breath attack. So as I mentioned earlier during the Godrick bit, that fire breath attack is a bit bugged, where sometimes it'll bounce off of the walls. It's not Vale's fault specifically, it's just the fire physics of this game are really fun. This one, Fire Param, I saw on Reddit, Just Recycle on Reddit, there's a YouTube guy he posted this thing and showed that if the fire physics in this game are triggered, this parameter to make so that fire bounces off of terrain and shit. So sometimes Vale's, especially at the initial fog wall, Vale's fire attack, straight line fire breath, can go right to the fog wall and then bounce off of like the terrain, and is for some reason isn't perfectly even. There's like a bit of like stumps and shit, so it can separate very easily, which is very, very weird. Like one time I fully outran the fire breath attack, but then it just came a second fire breath, bounced off of the wall perpendicularly because out of nowhere, and I got clipped. I wasn't super pissed because it was the beginning of the fight, but still it was so like fucking insane that I was scared it would happen right when I'm about to beat him. which fortunately didn't happen, but I was prepared for the worst. So for the strat for Bale is you can actually get quite a lot of CR2s and poise breaks, even though he has a decent amount of poise. So it really, so unlike most dragon bosses, this really isn't much of a gimmick fight. This is just a normal fight that just so happens to be a dragon, which is why he's my favorite dragon fight in the game by far. Which is not a cold take in the slightest, but I just want to reaffirm that because I've seen some people say Placidusax and dare I say even Fortissax is better. I know, crazy. So phase 2 is actually obviously hard in phase 1, but not a massive difficulty spike like with Radahn. So he gets all those AoEs and shit, but if you space yourself well, they really aren't that bad. And he gets a lot, and a lot of his new moves are very intimidating, but they're very consistently dodgeable and punishable, so they're all not that bad either. So here, so as you can see, I use, instead of using Bleed and Frost like I normally would, I use Poison, which in retrospect, I probably should have used Bleed. But what I was thinking is that because he likes to fuck off a lot, I won't be able to get consistent bleed buildup, and that using poison would keep him like being damaged even if he's fucking off. But in retrospect, even when he goes away, you can still get a decent amount of bleed buildup, so it takes so long to recover. So I guess it wasn't a good idea, but the benefit of that is I got to see more of his moveset in the final kill instead of just trivializing him with bleed, which I really, really like. So yeah, for this move, you have to. So I get another poise break here. He has a lot more mix-ups in phase 2, but not so many. Like he doesn't have Rellana level of mix-ups, but he has enough to make the fight stop fight being super simplistic and boring, which I really like. So this roar attack is really annoying. It's probably the second most annoying attack, other than the fire breath. The tail was a bit hard to intuit since his head movements were a bit subtle to intuit at first. He like moves it up, so he moves it up a bit and closes his eyes and brings it down. And also the roar lingers quite a bit in front of his head, so you gotta walk back a bit first and make sure you roll away so it doesn't clip you. And then if you try not to punish him, sometimes you can do attacks during the end of the roar, so the move can be concealed. The roar AoE, the VFX can conceal what he's doing, so you gotta be careful where he's going. So you see that? You can jump over that attack. I know it looks very weird, but you can jump. So it doesn't look jumpable, but those big VFX things, they're just VFX. They're not actual hitboxes. Only the ground explosion actually has a hitbox, so you can just jump over the ground explosion. This one, however, you cannot jump over because you see the lava actually goes up, so you actually have to dodge that one normally. Okay, so I think he's gonna do the fire. He's gonna do it again here. I'm gonna show you this. Yes, here. I dodge away, and then I jump over it and get a jump R2 and 2 more R1s. It probably would have been more optimal to dodge R1 the first stab, and then dodge and then roll into the explosion and then charge R2 punish it. But you know, jumping it is a lot more badass, so who gives a shit? And after this, the fight is basically over, but I fuck up. I nearly fuck up so badly here at the end. Oh my god, like look at this. Look at this, like, look at this masterful, disastrous fumble. I miss both the jump R2 and the 2 R1s. That's like, that's a generational fumble. But fortunately, he not only was the poison, I still have some throwing daggers, so I had a feeling I was gonna fuck it up, so I just chip damaged him away. Which is good, which is really, really good. Consort Radahn. Consort Radahn. Oh my god. So, thing is, this fight, I didn't really think, I knew it was gonna be harder than Malenia, but I didn't think it would be this hard. I nearly quit. It took me, I quit this run for like nearly an entire month just because of this fight. Like, this fight took me 75 hours over the course of 1 month. Well, it was more like 2 weeks because I took a 2-week break after. So I spent 2 weeks fighting him, then I took a 2-week break because it was pissing me the fuck off. And then I returned after those 2 weeks. So during that 2-week break, I played Bloodborne for the first time. Really good game, by the way. I recommend everyone plays it, even if you don't give a shit about FromSoft or any action games. It's a really good place in general. Yeah, I'm getting off topic. The thing is, I took a break to play Bloodborne for 2 weeks. And then after I beat Orphan of Kos, I was like, hey, you know, maybe Radahn won't be so bad now that I'm energized and de-stressed. And I beat him literally an hour after I returned to the fight after my break. I beat him. That's the power of breaks, guys. Just a 2-week break was enough. Yeah, 2 weeks doesn't sound like 2 weeks sounds like quite a lot, but in the grand scheme of things of this run, it really probably wasn't even enough time. I probably should have taken like a 2-month break, but you know, I was too eager to get back to the fight. So it was a good thing I did it anyway. So funnily enough, this is a nearly 7-minute kill. And phase 2 begins at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Which is really fucking funny. Phase 1 was in like Genichiro and Ichin fight levels of easy. But considering how insanely hard the phase 2 difficulty spike is, it might as well be. So for that attack, comes out a bit quick. It's not super quick, only comes on like 35 frames. The quick right hand slash, like, but it's a bit hard to react to in phase 2 because Miquella's hair can obscure it if you're on his sides or behind, which is why I always like to dodge in front of him so I can intuit what he's doing easier. So I always stay in front of, because also you don't use it in phase 2, but a cross slash attack, even after a nerf, is really hard to react to when Miquella's hair is covering it up. And Miquella's hair is even the worst part of this fight. The worst part is the uneven terrain. So the weird thing about the terrain in this fight, in the center trench, it fucks up for some reason the light pillars, where if he does the center trench terrain, for some reason it brings the up the hills in the terrain, makes the light pillars go closer to the Radahn. So even if you dodge into him, the light pillars will go to where you are and hit you no matter what, which is extremely annoying. So there's a bit of RNG involved. You could try to kite him. One thing I like to do is try to kite him to the flat parts of the arena. But kiting Consort Radahn is very risky because all of his most dangerous attacks, like the clones and the meteor attack, they're all ranged. So you're pretty much fucked if you're at range. So the only time you can really kite him is after the light speed dash or after the giant Light of Miquella AoE. So here, we don't do it here, but earlier I did a Light of Miquella. So in any other at any other point in the fight, I should have punished that of uncharge R2 instead of a charge R2, the neutral cross slash instead of the 1-2 slash. But, you know, I knew I was going to get a poise break, so I just went for the charge R2 anyway, which can be a bit of a risk if that's one of his ultra fast attacks. But fortunately, I poise broke him before he could do anything, so that was good. And this is the poise break here. See, I was about to run out of stamina, but I knew I was about to poise break him. I always keep mental track of how much poise damage I'm doing to him. So the weird thing about Radahn is that he has 120 poise, but he has... So the more poise you have in this game, the longer your recovery time is. For example, Morgott has 80 poise, but he has 6 seconds of regen, whereas OG Radahn has 200 poise, but 15 seconds of regen. But Consort Radahn has 120 poise with 6 seconds of regen, so you have to be really aggressive so he doesn't lose any poise. Which is really key, especially in a fight like this, where aggression... This fight encourages aggression more than any other fight in the game, I'm telling you. He may not give you a lot of openings, but the few openings he does give you, encourage, like he does, you gotta be careful and make sure you find openings in between his attacks. So here, stomp, overhand stomp, 2 slashes, and you can R1 him during that. It's a really good window. I don't know. So I was kind of like freaking out during this part of the fight. I thought I would need Crag Blade again, so I used the Cerulean Tears Blast. I never use it again, which is really bad because I wasted... It slowed down my stamina management, but fortunately I got lucky at the riposte and he used his grab attack, which allowed me to recover stamina. And this fight is the ultimate stamina management test, so try not to get too greedy all the time. Yeah, try not to get too greedy all the time, and don't try to punish every single opening. Okay, I said that he has not a lot of openings earlier. I lied. He does like have quite a bit of openings, but in fact he gives you, but you also have this, but give you so many openings that it becomes really demanding for your stamina management to keep track of all of them. Since he's really encouraging you to keep hitting him to keep up make sure his poison start resetting. But if your stamina runs out, obviously, if this is a quick two-hit slash, you won't be able to dodge that if you run out of stamina, and you will be pretty much dead. So you have to learn that you can't always punish everything. Sometimes you have to play patiently and let your stamina recover. Okay, I nearly fuck it up here. Oh, this fight pissed me up so much. Oh my god. He had 1 pixel of HP after the riposte. 1 pixel. I had a feeling that he wasn't gonna recover, so I went and jump R2'd him just in case. Like that actually, I saw the universe where I lost flashed before my eyes in that moment. Where oh my god, he's had 1 pixel of HP, so I hit him just in case. Oh my god, and he died. At first I was pissed off, but I realized that I actually won. I felt like I was dreaming. It just didn't feel real at all. I spent nearly 100 hours on this fight. I have spent more time fighting Consort Radahn than I have with my entire extended family. And that's it. Elden Ring, all bosses at level 1 without Scadutree blessings or getting hit. Why did I do this? I have no fucking idea, but one thing I learned is that perseverance is key. 2, stamina management is key. 3, the club is goated. 4, armor does not matter at all in this game. Poise does not matter, especially in PvE. PvP, maybe I'm not a PvP expert. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want trending around. I don't talk about. But PvE, really, armor does not really matter that much. Outside of some bonus effects. If you want damage negation, I highly recommend just using like Ritual Shield or Opaline. Those are way better and will save you way more hits than any armor ever could. And well, that wouldn't really matter to me since I'm doing hitless. But as you can tell, that even as a level 1 wretch, things were very manageable. And even the longest fight was Consort Radahn, which was 6 minutes and 30 seconds, which does sound quite a lot, but given how that I'm at level 1 with no blessings, it really could have been a lot longer. And the only reason why it was a lot longer was because of my bleed damage and my plus 25 weapon, thank god. Without bleed, I've never probably been able to defeat him. So many times I would fuck up right at the end. I would lose focus stupidly and I die. But that's the thing about Consort Radahn, is like he has those 2 really quick moves, the quick right hand slash and the cross slash. Where if you lose focus for even 1 second, think about 2 minutes, you will not be able to react to those moves and you will get hit. Which isn't a huge deal in phase 1, but in phase 2 it can be obscured by Mikola's hair and all the light AoEs. So you have to pay the utmost attention. Do not, when he's about to die, do never assume that you're about to win, even when he's about to die. Focus on the moment. Do not look at the health bar. What matters more is dodging as attacks in the moment and keeping up poison damage in the moment. Do not worry about the future. Do not dwell on the past. Focus on what he is doing to you right now. This turned into a giant motivational rant, but trust me, I guess in the end, I thought this may have seemed like a pointless experience, but it really did teach me a lot about breaking habits and trying out new things. Because with Radahn, my biggest habit was just punishing every single move and never caring about my stamina. But for that fight, I kept running out of stamina so many times because I kept just going for greeds and shit. So I had to actually change my playstyle to fit Radahn. Whereas I had to be aggressive enough to keep up poise, but not so aggressive that I would lose all my stamina, which applies to a lot of the fights in this game, especially at level 1. And I'm really glad that I just did this, you know? It was a great experience, and there were some very shit bosses like the Golden Hippo and shit, but overall I think most of the bosses were pretty enjoyable. In spite of all the negatives, I think I truly do love this game. Do I recommend doing this run? Fuck no. At least without blessings. If you want to with blessings, it actually isn't that bad. Even so, I use the club. If you use Starfist and shit, it really is not that bad. At least in the base game. In the DLC, you can struggle a bit, but you can still script bosses in many cool ways with blessings. Without blessings, this is a whole other thing. Which is why I want to challenge myself with that. So I was too. I really did not like how much damage I was doing in the base game, which is a good thing why I did it without blessings. But overall, I think I do recommend RL1, but your first playthrough, do it with Starfist. And do it with Iron Balls. Then when you get to Lanedale, switch Starfist. Make sure you make a cold infusion as well, so you can get the maximum procs and shit. And if you don't want to trivialize bosses and want to actually learn their movesets, then by all means don't use Starfist. Use something like Zweihander or Alabaster's Lord Sword. I forgot the name, or the Pegging Sword. I forgot the name of that one too. But Greg Glintstone made a really good video on RL1 runs. I highly recommend it. It's the best RL1 guide in the entire platform. No, entire internet, dare I say. I also recommend Thingfishy's RL1 guide. It's also pretty good. It's a lot not as good as Greg Glintstone's, and it focuses more on what you could do rather than what you should do and what you can and what the best way to experience RL1, and more like enabling you to find your own way to experience RL1. But it's RL1, but it's a good way, like a supplementary dish alongside Greg Glintstone's bigger 2-hour long like Lord of the Rings video. But overall, this was a really neat experience. My next challenge run, I think, I've already started Bloodborne BL4 level 4, and I'm playing Dark Souls 1 for the first time as a level 6 deprived. Keyword level 6. I thought that deprived class was base level 1 in DS1. Because the same as level 1 in Elden Ring, level 1 Wretch, just the naked guy in the club. But after I beat Taurus Demon, I looked at the status and was like, oh fuck. Oh my fuck. I'm level 6. Why the fuck am I level 6? I'm not SL1. But honestly, real SL1 is Pyromancer for some reason, but it doesn't really feel like a true SL1 run to me. So the stat distribution is a lot more even and fair than, say, the abysmal dog shit stat distribution of the deprived class in DS1. So to me, in my eyes, SL6 is the true SL1 run. I don't want to be a gatekeeper or something. Like, if you do an SL1 run as a Pyromancer, it's all up to you. You do you. But for me, SL6 is a true SL1 run. Okay, I'm getting off topic. I'm doing DS1, SL6 as my first playthrough of the game, which is kind of crazy. I am not doing Bloodborne BL4 my first one playthrough in the game though. I have already beaten the game, so I beat Orphan of Kos a few days ago. So I'm doing level 4 playthrough. And it's pretty fun so far, I guess. Only really Gascoigne has been fun. Cleric Beast was absolute torture. Well, because I'm also doing a no-hit. And if you don't do a no-hit of Cleric Beast, it's not that bad. But there's so many weird delays and shit that can catch you off guard, which you won't really have to worry about. So don't do too much damage. But if you're doing no-hit, you are pretty much fucked. Which is especially bad with Lawrence. Because he has all those fire exactly the same as the Cleric Beast with all the fire AoEs and shit. But I'm getting off topic. I'm not even talking about Elden Ring. So, in conclusion, RL1 good, RL1 SP0 bad. Play game. hate Golden Hippo. Suffer on Consort Radahn. And I'm not gonna force you to do this, but I recommend playing the game normally the first time and not doing RL1 as your first playthrough, as I'm doing with DS1, because I'm a fucking masochist for some reason. Okay, that's all I have to say for today. Goodbye.